as always, by my co-host, Quentin Crisco. How are we doing tonight, Quentin?
Doing wonderful, Jay. Just excited for another week of football coming at us, another week of winners, and
Speaking of
been
winners,
riding hot a little here. So just hoping to keep that
speaking
going.
of winners, woo! Don't let the boys get hot. I'm telling you. What was it? 3-1 college football, 4-1 in the NFL. Don't want to get hot here.
Something like that. I mean, I'm plus money each of the last 3 weeks after starting out rough in week one. And you went 5-1 on NFL last weekend, sir. You were at 4.5 units last week, so that is outstanding.
Hot boy season.
My name is Quentin Crisco. You can find me on Twitter at BucketStats, and we are the Shaving Points Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at shaving_points. That's PTS_pod. You can find us on Reddit, find us on YouTube, find us on TikTok, Facebook, and at the one, the only, shaving-points.com.
Yes, sir. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. Let us know in the comments what you think. Who is your bet of the week this week? If you're watching on the YouTube, let us know in the comments who you think is your best bet of the week and why it's a lock and why we should ride with you. And we'll just jump right into this week's slate of games, starting out with the Indianapolis Colts going on the road to the Denver Broncos up to Mile High. We have Denver laying 3.5 points with a total of 48.5. I'll let Quentin start us out. What do you like in this game?
So 43.5 is the total, and I'm taking the under.
43.5, that was my bad.
I do not trust Indy's ability to score points. I definitely don't trust Denver's ability to score points. I think that the elevation is going to impact Indy a little here. So I actually thought about taking Denver against the spread on this, but I chose not to just because I like the under better. Javonte Williams is out for Denver, so they're having to completely rearrange their running back room. Melvin Gordon's probably good for a fumble somewhere in this game. We all know it.
I've seen from some Denver insiders close to the organization that they wouldn't be surprised that even with Javonte being out for the season, if Melvin Gordon is just straight up cut by before this game starts or early into next week.
Why? What's the reasoning behind it?
Can't hold on the football.
Interesting. He's had his struggles within his career.
3 fumbles, can't hold on to the ball. Apparently they like this. What is it? Miles Davis or no? Who's that third string running back they have? Do you know? Mike Boone. Apparently they really like him. And there's somebody else off waivers that they just grabbed. The dude out of the Saints that used to be with the Minnesota Vikings. Trey or what was
his name's on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember it though.
Premier the premier fantasy backup running back for like 5 years ago.
Yeah. Latavius Murray.
Yes, they just picked him up. So yeah, Melvin Gordon may be out the door, and so just keep that in mind if you're a fantasy owner.
Yeah, and I still love Denver's defense. Very talented unit. They've shown an ability to keep opponents from scoring points this year, despite the fact that their offense hasn't scored many points, which makes this a Thursday night game. We've seen low totals in these games. I don't think that's changing this week because neither of these offenses give me much hope.
Yeah. So you told me last week home teams cover in these Thursday night games. And I love Denver coming into this game. Then when you look at the history of Thursday night football games and the home team covering, and then you look at the fact that you have a home field advantage like Mile High Stadium, and then you look at these two teams, and even if Denver hasn't been playing well, they're a much better team than Indianapolis, even if they haven't been playing well. So you think they're going to put it together eventually. So I love Denver minus 3.5 in this game. I love their home field advantage. It would not be surprising to me at all if Mike Boone goes out there and rushes the ball 20 times for 165 yards this game. Russell Wilson has 15 passes and throws for 270 and 4 touchdowns. Like, It would not that would not surprise me at all. Basically, exactly what they needed to do when they had Javonte Williams, but they do it whenever their backup running back comes in and they have nobody else. I mean, similar to what the Cowboys did, and you looked at how the Cowboys managed their offense in Week 1 with Dak, and how they've managed their offense since Cooper Rush came in, and then you think like, oh wow, like this offense looks so much better with this backup quarterback in there. Just wait and see what happens when Dak gets back. Like sometimes it's just you try too much whenever your starters are in there, and then you just dumb it down whenever you have backups, and then it just works a lot better because you're actually good at your job. Like it's crazy that these offensive coordinators got their jobs because they're good at their job and they just try too hard. And then when they have less weapons, they dumb it down. Then all of a sudden the offense looks better. Like I think Nathaniel Hackett is a good coach. Maybe not a good coach, but I think he's a smart play caller, and I think he's going to try to make it simple for Boone because I do think Melvin Gordon's not going to really see the touches that we think he's going to see. I do think Mike Boone's going to come in there and carry the rock for him, and I think with that on top of a slow start, Nathaniel Hackett's going to try to dumb down his offense. And then it's going to look fantastic because the dumbed down version of what he has in his mind is a well-flowing, high-powered, potent offense. And I think this could be a breakout game for Denver. I love Denver minus 3.5 here.
Yeah. And then, so that's our Thursday night game. Moving on to our early morning Sunday game. Cross the pond.
Cross the pond. We got to do this again?
Yep. All this international play.
I don't bet London games, but I'll let you take it over here. So we have the New York Giants versus Green Bay Packers. I don't know what the spread is on this game. I don't have it pulled up, but we have a total of 41, and it looks like you're taking the Lunder.
I think it's like a 9-point spread or something. It's something big.
And honestly, pretty quick. 8 points.
I'm usually against betting London games at all. But this Green Bay defense is talented. This Green Bay offense lacks weapons. And the New York Giants, I'm not sure if they have a quarterback.
Eli Manning is talking about coming back.
Yeah. Well, if Eli Manning is coming back, I might not like the under anymore. But for now,
get some points on the board, boy.
I don't think the Giants are going to be able to effectively run the football against this Green Bay front that is honestly not that great against the run, but they're a very talented defense. I think they're not that great against the run because they don't focus on stopping the run. But
yeah, they're bend don't break. They'll give you 85 rushing yards, but you won't get a touchdown out of it.
Yeah,
but their secondary is on point. And
I think they're going to get
when you have Saquon Barkley throwing the football, you don't really have to worry about it.
Yeah. I think Green Bay's going to get a couple score lead and then run the clock out on this game. I don't think it's going to sniff the 41. Which weird things have happened in London games. I've been very wrong about them in the past, but this one I feel pretty confident. I don't think the Giants will be able to do a whole lot, and I don't think Green Bay is really has the firepower to go put up, a ridiculous amount of points that would push this over.
So my question is, what are the legalities of ayahuasca in London?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Can you go to prison for that?
I don't know.
Because we gotta start calling like London police as soon as they land.
Put him in jail.
Yeah. I mean, he should have been jailed already. I mean, he should be in prison right now for the amount of people he put at risk for COVID-19. But beside that, we're talking about an illegal drug that obviously is performance enhancing, and I don't know why the NFL hasn't stepped in and just put the cuffs on him and send him to solitary confinement for the damage he's doing to our game. But yeah, I mean, maybe London will have to do it for us. So maybe we call London and have them.
We can call on Roger Goodell right here and now to stop playing around and take action.
Yeah, I mean somebody has to do it because like this man is running a mockery of the NFL that we know and love. That the NFL that takes player safety to the highest degree that we know in professional sports. And the fact that they just let this man go out there high on ayahuasca every week is criminal. Criminal to the integrity of the game. All of his records should be wiped out like Barry Bonds.
At least asterisked.
Absolutely. Shouldn't be allowed in the Hall of Fame. They should give his Super Bowl to Big Ben, somebody who played the game with integrity. Big Ben, somebody who never put his team in a bad situation in the public light. Somebody who carried the torch for a historic organization at the highest regard you could as a human being with the utmost character that you can have. Big Ben
needs talking about the clock, right?
Ben Roethlisberger needs to have Aaron. He needs to have Aaron Rodgers' Super Bowl ring because he deserves it as somebody of high moral standard and integrity. Is a man that never cheated the game. A man who did everything the right way and didn't openly talk about doing illicit drugs in the off season. A guy that we can all look up to, and we want our children to marry like Big Ben.
Integrity.
Might have been a little rant there. Moving on. We have the Houston Texans versus Jacksonville Jaguars in Florida. We have a 7-point spread in this game. And I said it last week. I'm riding again this week. I'm probably taking Jacksonville until they prove me wrong. Trevor Lawrence might not be able to play in the rain. But I don't think it's going to be raining this weekend. And Houston's really, really bad. I think they can cover 7 against Houston. I love Jacksonville -7 in this game. I love their weapons. Trevor Lawrence is throwing the ball all over the place. Travis Etienne's looking really good. That defense is looking strong. And Houston doesn't have a lot of bright spots outside of Dameon Pierce.
Yeah, I mean, we're both on this bet, Jacksonville -7. I just do not think Houston's going to be able to get the ball moving on offense. I think this Jacksonville defense is very talented, very fast. They're going to force Davis Mills to throw the ball outside the numbers, which is not something he's very good at. And I don't think they're going to be able to put up yards or points very, very easily. And I think Jacksonville is just going to be able to take what the Houston defense gives them. That's a big key for Lawrence in this game, but it's been something he's done well so far this year. So it's, especially coming off the loss in Philly, I think they're going to be very motivated coming in with a great game plan from Doug Peterson to take advantage of this opponent.
He struggled holding the ball last week in the rain, and if you take out his fumbles that I attribute to the rain, like they probably beat Philly pretty handily last week. He couldn't hold on to the ball. So I don't know if that was nerves. I don't know if that was the rain. I'm going to chalk it up to the rain and say he's a better quarterback than that and say he's going to come back from that. And that this would be a double-digit spread if they beat Philadelphia like they should have beat Philadelphia. And the fact that they came back on and lost by by 8 points, 9 points to Philadelphia. They didn't cover. It was 6.5. Like I think it was 9 points, 8 points, something like that. But the fact that they didn't cover against Philadelphia, I think they're being undervalued here. Even though you look at the line, they're 7-point favorites. I still think they're being undervalued. I think if they would have even just covered last week, or if they would have possibly won, we'd be looking at like a 10 to 14 point spread here. So I think you're getting a lot of value here at Jacksonville -7 because I think Houston is that bad, and I think Jacksonville is that good.
Yeah, I think Houston's just extremely limited, and a good defense can take away what they're good at. And at that point, it becomes real hard for them to score points.
Let's hope Dameon Pierce gets a couple of tutties, though. Another couple 80-yard breakers, and they lose 28-14. And Dameon Pierce has 165 yards and 2 touchdowns, so that'll be nice. That'd be nice for your boys.
That boy runs hard.
All right, moving on. We have the Miami Football Dolphins versus the New York Football Jets. Spready Bridgewater is back. Spready, our boy, the dude we know and love last year all over Teddy. Teddy Two Gloves. Number one rule of gambling, don't bet against Teddy Two Gloves. Luckily, we're not betting against Teddy Two Gloves this week. I'm taking over 44.5. Why? You look and say, oh, Tua's gone, Zach Wilson, blah, blah, blah. Wrong. Okay, so look at this. Teddy, check down machine. Always checks down. Look at who he's checking down to. Jalen Waddle, 7-yard slant to the house. Tyreek Hill, 7-yard slant to the house. Zach Wilson, he's out there catching touchdowns. He's out
Doing
there
the gritty.
throwing touchdowns. He's out there doing the gritty. Garrett Wilson, not related to Zach Wilson. You put them together, and you can see the instant chemistry. Corey Davis, looking like the Corey Davis that was drafted before Patrick Mahomes. Corey Davis looking like an absolute stud out there catching the ball. Zach Wilson, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. This Jets team is very, 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 very sneaky. A really good offense. Elijah Vera Tucker has been a stud on the offensive line for him. Also, I don't know if you're a Cowboys fan listening. I hate to break it to you, but Connor Williams might be good for that Miami offensive line. Playing center. We never played him at center. He just got his ass whipped at guard every week. And somehow moving him to center, he's good now. I love the offenses in these games. And the defense, both have decent opportunistic defenses. And when I see opportunistic defenses going against good offenses on both sides of the ball, we might get a pick 6 or 2 in this game. I absolutely love over 44.5 in this game. Might be one of my favorite bets of the week.
Yeah. I mean, I can get behind it. Both these offenses have put up a lot of points, even with Tua out. Teddy's he's a smart veteran who knows how to get the ball to his guys. So
we're talking about three touchdowns on each team, and both defenses have the players that can maybe get you one each. Not saying both defenses will get one each, but if the Jets get a pick 6, then you're just saying that Miami has to get an extra touchdown. So I love it. I love over 44.5. It might be my best bet of the week.
I think Mike McDaniels is going to come into this game with a hell of a plan to get Bridgewater going too.
I mean, Jalen Waddle might have like 14 catches in this game.
Yeah. I mean, you think back to when McDaniels was in San Francisco and he had CJ Beathard and Nick Mullins putting points.
Nick Mullins.
I mean,
Jimmy Garoppolo?
Shanahan was there too. The question is, who was that, Shanahan or McDaniel? But
I think McDaniel, as early as it's been in this season, I think he's at least proved his worth that he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Whether or not it was this or that, but I think McDaniel has proved his worth that he is at least competent.
So
play calling.
There are a lot of coaches that think of themselves, I think, as savants, offensive like geniuses who are these amazing play callers. When in reality is they're just good coaches who should probably hand the play calling to someone else. That's not Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel is actually this good at it.
I agree. I like Mike McDaniel a lot, and being one of the only minority head coaches in the NFL, he's got something to prove.
Yeah.
I didn't take that back to Adam Schefter for a second. Moving on, we have the Los Angeles Chargers versus the Cleveland Browns. We have a 3-point line here in Cleveland's favor, and I don't know Tola's off the top of my head. But what do you got on this game?
I got Cleveland +3 at home. Chargers Chargers without Rashawn Slater. No Joey Bosa. I almost said Nick Bosa. No Joey Bosa. Keenan Allen is still in question. Austin Eckler just put up a monster game for them. I don't know if he's good for two games in a row like that. Herbert's playing with the rib injury. I mean, Cleveland at home, that defense is very talented. Jacoby Brissett's been playing well enough this year for them to win a game like this.
Well enough.
Yeah. I mean, I thought about taking money line here. I took the +3 just to be a little safer on it. But, I mean, Cleveland at home. It's a long trip for LA. They're really banged up. A lot of guys missing. I think Khalil Mack might have a field day going up against Storm Norton and just. Oh, wait, that doesn't make sense. Khalil Mack. Myles Garrett. I think Myles Garrett will have a field day going up against Storm Norton.
Myles Garrett hasn't been cleared to play this week.
Has he not? Don't matter.
But he probably will. I mean, there's a chance he could have played last week, so I'm assuming he's playing this week, but it hasn't. He's still questionable technically. Well, we're also recording this on Tuesday, October 10th, or October 4th, excuse me. So,
yeah, but either way, with or without Garrett, I still like Cleveland here. I mean, that defense is talented. I'm sure Keenan Allen will probably play too, but they have the secondary to play well against that. Cleveland.
Yeah, so this was one of my bets that I didn't take, but looking at it, like, to get a home dog in the Cleveland Browns, you have the best running back in football right now, Nick Chubb, just absolutely terrorizing defenses. And then if you stop Nick Chubb, you still have Kareem Hunt coming at you, who might be the second best running back in football right now. And then on top of that, you have Jacoby Brissett playing at a very high level. You have Amari Cooper catching a lot of balls for him. You have David Njoku playing very well at tight end for him. You have an offensive line that's still top 10 in the league. And then you have a defense that's good, not great, going against the Chargers, who are going full Charger mode. Like you said, all the injuries. I mean, we talked about this in the offseason. Something's cursed about that franchise. They can't stay healthy. We're 4 weeks into the season, and they've already lost 4 All-Pros.
That's why I'm on the spread here, not the money line, because like the most Chargers thing would be for this to end up being like a 1-point game either way. So
yeah. So I mean, it's just the Chargers going full Chargers. Luckily, they haven't lost Derwin James yet. I'm sure he's next on the hit list for whatever higher power hates the Chargers. But I love Derwin James. He's one of my favorite players in the NFL, and I would love to watch him stay healthy. But I just know he's next on the list, so that's already depressing me. But I like Cleveland here, but we haven't seen the Justin Herbert game. This is what scared me. We haven't seen the Justin Herbert game this year. He's been mediocre. I mean, he shouldn't be playing, but he's been an average quarterback at best so far this season. And if he's still playing and they haven't deflated his lung yet with terrible medical staff, I think it's about time for him to show out. And it could be this game where he goes out there and balls out, and he'll throw 5 touchdowns, 476 yards, throw for 77%, and then everybody's talking about him like the greatest of all time again. We haven't seen that from Justin Herbert this year, and he usually has about 2 or 3 of those games a year where everybody acts like he's the greatest quarterback of all time. So that's why it's hard for me to take Cleveland in this game, and that's why I avoided it completely. But if I'm forced to take it, I'm taking Cleveland +3, and I'm taking Cleveland money line.
If all that happens, it'll result in the Chargers winning by 1. Bet still hits.
Yeah, probably. You're probably right. That's Chargers going full Chargers.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. We have the Atlanta Falcons going to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay going through divorce? Maybe. Him and old wifey.
Is the witchcraft off?
Witchcraft may be off. So Giselle's definitely a witch. They haven't got a divorce yet. They both hired divorce attorneys. So maybe he's still getting some witchcraft juice. But Tom Brady doesn't look like the same Tom Brady that was getting the witchcraft juice a couple of years ago. And I don't know if you listened last year, but if you listened last year, let me tell you one thing. I swore him off. I said, we're done. Absolutely done. No more. I might be back on my bullshit.
Dirty Birds.
Dirty Birds. Do you know who the only team in the NFL right now who's undefeated against the spread?
I did not, but I do now.
Dirty Birds. That was a question. Not a statement. Dirty Birds are the only team in the NFL right now undefeated against the spread. The Dirty Birds, who are catching 8.5 points against a suspect Tampa team with a witchless Tom Brady. Tyler Algier, who I loved preseason, who got no love earlier in the season, is all of a sudden the number one running back and absolutely lighting it up. Marcus Mariota, the kid scorned out of Tennessee, the Heisman winner, is just handing the ball off so perfectly. He handed the ball off 37 times last week so well. I don't think you could hand off the ball better than Marcus Mariota was handing off the ball last week. And
I bet you practiced a lot. It's an impressive skill.
They ran the ball 17 straight times last week and scored 13 points out of it.
I don't think you can do
without
that
a
against
single
Tampa.
pass play. But what if they do?
It'd be very impressive against that Tampa defense.
The Cowboys are running the ball that well, and they just stopped.
I guess so. If you say so. I don't have the game right in front of me, but
Atlanta's offense, like Cowboys only ran the ball 11 times in that game, and they were averaging 5 yards a pop. And without a 20-yard run, that was legitimate 5 yards a pop, not like one 35-yard run and then 10 1-yard runs. Legitimately, and they just refuse to run the ball. And Tampa's offensive line might be a little bit better than Dallas's. But so let's say they're not running the ball well. Drake London's look good. Take that shot at me. I said he was trash. They still have a tight end that is eventually have to catch some balls. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he just never catches another ball again for the rest of his life. But a very good tight
Kyle
end.
Pitts takes kind of aged like milk right now.
I mean, I wasn't high on Kyle Pitts preseason. I wasn't, but
no, I'm not saying ours. I'm just saying everybody's, because everyone had him like top 5 fantasy tight end.
Yeah, I mean, people were talking about him like ending up like top 10 fantasy player. Not us. Not us. We were on the Amon-Ra St. Brown train. We were on the Jared Goff train. We were on the Devonta Adams train. Like we were on the right trains. We weren't telling you to go draft Kyle Pitts early. I mean, we liked Mark Andrews better than Kyle Pitts. Like, I'll tell you that much right now. I mean, we weren't on that Kyle Pitts train, but eventually he's got to catch the ball, right?
He's still very good.
And we're catching 8.5 points for a team that's played very well going into the season. Like, I don't understand why they're 8.5 point favorite or underdogs here.
Neither do I, which means probably a good bet.
Is it a rat line?
The only thing that scares me is, like I already said, Tampa stops the run very well.
I might have just talked myself into realizing I took a rat line. Is this a rat line?
I don't know. I mean, Tampa hasn't covered in a few weeks, and that's probably driving their price down. Like,
down?
Which makes me think that this should probably be like a 10-point spread or something. Which that's the reason I stayed away.
So you're thinking it's driving Tampa's price down. At the same time, Atlanta is undefeated against the spread, so you would think it would drive their price down. So don't you think those even out?
Yeah, those might even out. I mean,
8.5 points. Like this this Atlanta team is not bad. I'm not saying they're good.
Yeah, no, I mean they're not bad.
Points.
I do not trust Mariota.
They have a good kicker.
Game. Yeah.
When you look at these close games, that I think Atlanta can move the ball
ultimately
good enough.
Ultimately, where I'm at is I do not know what to expect from Brady in a post-witchcraft world.
Maybe he finds another witch, a better witch. if Tom Brady finds a better witch and he wins 7 more Super Bowls.
I have no analytics.
And it all starts here.
So.
And it all starts here. Am I taking the cheese here?
I don't know. I really don't.
I need to know. I need a call. Cupcake, are you there to tell me whether or not I'm taking the cheese here? I guess
you might be.
Available.
You might be, but there's only one way to find out.
Taking up, be taking.
That's
the
watching
cheese.
the game.
I'm keeping it. Keeping the Dirty Birds. Keeping the Dirty Birds. Back on my bullshit. Dirty Birds, Atlanta, -8.5. Lock it in. All right. Talk about a rat line. Talk about a rat line. All right, we got to talk about this game right here. I don't have this game bet, but by the end of this segment, I may be going all in. So we have the Pittsburgh Steelers going up to Buffalo, take on the Bills. We have Buffalo catching 14, or we have the Steelers catching 14 points in Buffalo. Let me know what you think, because this is the biggest rat line I've ever seen in my life.
So I was about to say, right before we started this, was speaking of taking the cheese, I'm all in on this rat line. Pittsburgh plus 14. Pittsburgh has not been more than an 11-point dog once under Tomlin. Not once.
Okay,
and the Steelers have not been a 14-point dog since the 60s.
Okay, go on.
I trust Tomlin. Put together a hell of a game plan here.
How many
not
other
to
points
win,
you got?
not to win by one, not to lose by only one score. To lose by 10, something like that. Buffalo's gonna. This is gonna be a cruise game for them. You're gonna go up by 2 scores, go on cruise control, make sure Josh Allen ain't taking hits, and just cruise right through. All the meanwhile, Kenny Pickett's gonna be hitting the backdoor cover late in the game. Love it. Young quarterback. Not enough film on him for them to game plan. Pittsburgh's a good coaching staff. They're going to put together a good game plan in this game. And it's going to keep them within 2 scores at the end of the game, which isn't asking a lot. Not a lot of games end more than 14 difference.
Okay.
Give me Mike Tomlin.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Why do you think gambling is so popular?
Because you and me are always right. And everyone else who does it, we're all always right.
Because you always think you can beat the house.
Yep.
And you look at this, and you say, oh, Steelers haven't been that big of an underdog in 50 years. Mike Tomlin's never been that big of an underdog. One of the most historic organizations of all time. Mike Tomlin's one of the greatest coaches of all time. And you can just rattle off stats. We're talking about the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen, who has played in close games. Last year lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Last week took a 17-point comeback to beat a Ravens team whose defense looks suspect at best. You're just like 14 points, and you think about the Steelers, and you think about that defense, and then you're like, they have a rookie quarterback they're going to get up for. They have all these great receivers. They just drafted George Pickens. Like, they have talent all over this field. They're going to get up for Kenneth Pickett. They're going to get up and do these things. And then you look at the line, you're like, oh, Pittsburgh plus 14. Like, I get 2 touchdowns with a heightened Pittsburgh team, with a Pittsburgh team that's going to be firing at all cylinders, with a Pittsburgh team with a rookie quarterback that they're just galvanizing behind, with a Pittsburgh team with one of the greatest coaches of all time, Mike Tomlin, one of the greatest motivators of all time, who kept Antonio Brown looking like a normal civilized human for 10 years. And you're just like, oh yeah, Pittsburgh, like, catching 14 points. That's the definition of a rat line. I tell you over and over and over again, don't take the cheese. We just talked about it with the last game where I was like, am I taking the cheese here? Like, am I about to get caught in this rat trap? Like, I don't know. But, like, this is the most obvious rat of all time. Like, there's never been a rattier rat than Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the most historic franchises of all time. We're one of the greatest coaches of all time, with what many people think has a good defense. catching 14 points against a team that has struggled in the first 5 weeks of the season outside of like a rout week 1. Like the Bills haven't looked great. And you're telling me these billion-dollar casinos in Las Vegas are just like, yeah, we're just going to give you this one. Just take this one. Like, yeah, nobody in the NFL wins by more than 14. Like, you know how rare it is for somebody to win in the NFL by more than 14? Like, it happens at like a 30% rate. And we're giving you 14 points. So just analytically speaking, you have a 60% chance to win just based on odds alone before you even look at the teams. And then look at the teams. Look, you have Mike Tomlin, a Hall of Fame coach. Look, you have a defense with maybe 1 or 2 Hall of Famers on it, even after accounting for the fact that TJ Watt's not there. Oh, you have a rookie quarterback who the team is galvanizing behind with 4 receivers who are very, very talented. Oh, you have Najee Harris, who's one of the best young running backs in the league. Come on, take this. Like, we're giving you 14 points. Please, 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 please bet this line for us. Like, we have too much money. We make billions of dollars a year taking people's bets. Like, we really just want to give you this free bet. It's a fucking rat.
What do you think it should
give
be?
Me
at?
Bills.
If 14's not enough, what should
give
be?
Me
at?
Bills. I don't know. I will tell you this.
14's a massive lie.
I will tell you this.
Huge.
If it was Pittsburgh plus 7.5, I would be more inclined to take Pittsburgh at that line than I am at 14.
Okay.
I'm just telling you. These billion-dollar casinos in Vegas don't just like keep upgrading every year in hopes and dreams.
No, they follow numbers. And I don't think numbers really give you a straight picture of what's happening in this game.
Every book in the world is begging, like on their hands and knees, just begging you to take this Pittsburgh line here.
I mean, I don't know. The last time you told me this, my bet covered. So,
when did I tell you this?
Falcons Rams.
When was this?
A few weeks ago. Falcons were like plus 12.5.
And the Rams covered.
No, Falcons covered. You just told me Falcons are perfect against the spread.
Oh yeah, that was back before I knew any better. Pittsburgh's being way overvalued here. I'm telling you.
Hey,
it's a
you
rat
could
line.
very well be right, but I'm just following the history on this, and especially when my numbers are coming out saying that this should be 17, and I'm saying, okay, well the numbers are telling me 17. Difference between 17 and 14 isn't much. You're talking a backdoor cover right there.
Yeah, but the difference between 17 and 14, with how NFL scoring goes, with how your numbers equate for field goals and everything like that, you take out a couple of field goals that they equated for 17 and turn them into touchdowns, and all of a sudden that's 28, not 17. You can go the other way as well, but I mean, when you're talking a point spread of 12 to 17 in the NFL, and how you get 12 to 17 points between field goals, potential safeties, touchdowns, how you get those touchdowns between pick sixes or 2-point conversions, missed extra points. When you factor all that in, the variability between 12 and 17 could basically take you from like 12 to 28 as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I follow you, but I
don't know. I just made that up off the top of my head. But
I mean if
there's
it's
a lot of variability.
It can very well be down by 20 with like 3 minutes left, and Kenny Pickett's going on this drive for experience. You know,
that's the only thing that scares me is the experience factor of being up like 24 points. With 7 minutes left, they get a touchdown and they go up 17 points. And then they let Kenny Pickett go on a 2-minute drive down by 17, and they go fucking get a touchdown with time expiring to lose by 10. That's the only thing that scares me about this game.
To be clear, that's what I think happens in this game.
I don't have this game bet, but like it's the biggest rat line of the year. But moving on. We have Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions. Don't sleep on them. Number 1 offense in the NFL. worst defense in the NFL, going to a third-string quarterback in New England, catching 3 points. Okay, New England's defense isn't that good. Not at all. Their defense is okay. But you have the number one offense coming into town, catching 3 points. Like, I think Detroit Lions can cover 3 points against anybody in the NFL. And then you're giving me a bad New England team with a third-string quarterback. Give me Detroit +3 all day in this game. This may be another rat line. That might be 3 rat lines in a row that we're all on the wrong side of. But, like, I think Detroit is going to score 28 in this game. And New England may score 40. I don't know. Detroit's defense can't stop anybody. But knowing that I think Detroit's going to score at least 28 points makes me think they can cover 3 against a third-string rookie quarterback who Bill Belichick refused to let throw the ball last week.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm probably jumping on this game. I just want to wait to see the inactive report from Detroit. I want to see who's playing.
Yeah, and I mean, if we get a Monroe St. Brown back and DeAndre Swift back, I mean, I bet this line goes closer to like even.
Yeah,
but either way, I still like Detroit. I love Detroit +3 in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think the bet makes a lot of sense. Like, I mean, the model loves it. The model thinks Detroit wins this game by 6, and that's without even factoring a third-string quarterback.
Yeah, 9 points you're getting there.
Yeah,
this is the best week for the model.
Yeah, the week 5 is when the model historically takes off. So,
but I'll let you take these next 2 because I might talk about the Dallas game a little bit, but I'll
start off with the Philly game
next 2.
Yeah, I'll start off with the Philly game then. So Philadelphia going down to Arizona, 5-point favorites, and I just don't think Arizona has the talent to stack up with Philly right now. Even I mean, Arizona hasn't even been a good home team historically with Kyler and Cliff, and Philly. I just think they got the goods right now. I think they're that good of a football team. I think 5 is a small number here. It should be a little bigger. And A.J. Brown's going to come in there, get a lot of yards, get some touchdowns, and Dallas Goedert, I think, is going to tear up the linebackers for Arizona. Like, I don't think they'll match him. And that T-line is a wrecking crew for Philly. And I don't know if Arizona's O-line can keep up with it. The only thing that really worries me here is if Kyler just gets on one. But so far this year, I haven't felt like Kyler has been on one. Even last week against Carolina, it just wasn't – he didn't take off quite right. You know, it wasn't like Kyler's destroying this team. It was like that game was too close for too long before Arizona finally pulled away, which I was relieved by because I had Arizona covering. But
something seems wrong with that offense.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think Philly's just going to go in there and, take him to the woodshed. Like, that's...
Yeah, this was another rat line for me. Like, I felt like there was a lot of rat lines this week. And Philly being -5, I think, was like, oh, yeah, you have to take Philly. Arizona's looked bad. But then, like, Kyler is going to Kyler at some point, kind of like what I said about Justin.
Yeah.
There's going to be a game where Kyler goes
the
off.
One worry I have is...
I think Philly is a very, very good team. I hate Philadelphia. I hate the Eagles. I think they're a good team. I think they're being a little bit. I think they're getting crowned pretty early. Like I think they're very well rounded. I think they're good everywhere, but I don't think they're so good that they can go into the desert and be 5-point favorites. Like, they might be that good, but historically speaking, like these Cardinals teams with Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray have monster games, and they haven't had a monster game this year, and they've looked very mediocre on offense. They haven't really done a whole lot. So it's either you think they're just not going to figure it out this season, or they're due. And I definitely think they're due for this week. But at the same time, Philly has looked so explosive all over the field that it's hard to bet against them right now. but that's why I didn't touch this game. Like
For me, it's
if this
hard
game,
to trust anything from Arizona until they get Hopkins back because they're just
yeah,
they're,
they're very close to
they
that.
just their skill weapons are just not getting the job done right now.
I would like so supposedly you get 3 points for being at home. I would love this line a whole lot more if it was Philly -8 at home than Philly -5 on the road, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I follow you. One of the reasons I went along with this as the road is just that Arizona hasn't been good at home, like under Cliff.
Yeah. But all right, we'll move on to our next game. We have the Dallas Cowboys, the best team in the league, best quarterback in the league, best running back in the league, best receiver in the league, and Micah Parsons, the overall best player in the league, going to the Los Angeles Rams, playing against a dog shit offense who has Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp versus the world with a beat up offensive line.
Hey, sometimes Ben Skarnick gets some looks.
Yeah, I mean, Micah Parsons might kill this poor man this week. They still have a little bit of talent on defense, but Rams are 4.5-point favorites. And this was the one rat line I didn't bet, and mainly because I'm not on the Cooper Rush train like everybody else is. But explain to me why you like Dallas 4.5 here.
I don't think the Rams can block the Cowboys D-line. I just don't think they can. I think Parsons is going to have a day. I think it might result in a pick or two with Stafford trying to force the ball out early, and Trayvon Diggs just taking advantage of some of that, jumping some routes. I think Trayvon Diggs might get a little over aggressive in this game because there's one thing I know from watching years of Matt Stafford in Detroit. It's that when he's starting to get hit, he's going to start tossing some up.
And Trayvon Diggs will definitely go for it, whether or not it pays off. I mean, we saw last year. We saw it in the same game in New England. We saw him get a pick six and then give up a touchdown 20 seconds later.
Yeah. But I do not trust this Rams offensive line at all.
I don't trust this Rams
protect
offense.
Stafford, and I think that throws everything off in their offense so much. Yeah. Like you think about the one constant they've had with McVay, it's probably the offensive line.
Yeah.
And this year they haven't had it. Now maybe this is the game it all clicks for the Rams and they start doing well. But this isn't a bet on Cooper Rush for me. This is a bet against the Rams offensive line more than anything.
Yeah. So everything you just said makes me really like the under because I do agree with everything you just said. But I mean, the Cowboys offensive line isn't in great shape. We have a total of 43.5 here. I'm not in the camp that Cooper Rush, like there's actual people that believe there's a quarterback competition in Dallas right now.
It's Jay Cutler and Josh McCown, except we're in Dallas this time.
You can ask anybody that knows me personally. I've never been like a big Dak guy, but I mean Dak is the better quarterback. Like the fact that it's even being brought up is so disrespectful to like the Dak Tony situation that it's like making me infuriated because everybody's comparing it to it. And I'm like, people just don't realize how fucking good Tony Romo was. And it just drives me freaking insane that they try to compare these two situations. But yeah, Dak is far and away better than Cooper Rush. And this is what I was talking about earlier with Nathaniel Hackett. And I think he's going to call a better game with worse players because he just gets too cute whenever he has all of his offensive players in there. I mean, you just go back to week 1 against Tampa Bay, and we can't throw the ball. Our offensive line is getting destroyed. We're running the ball well, and we just refuse to run the ball. As soon as Dak gets hurt and Cooper Rush comes in for the next 4 weeks, we're having a good run and pass game. We're throwing the ball off the run. Cooper Rush he's scheming guys open to where Cooper Rush is hitting wide open targets. And everybody's like, oh, wow, like, look how good Cooper Rush is. Like, I could hit these guys. They're so open. Like, he's not putting the ball in tight windows. He's not making phenomenal reads. Like, he's he's doing his job, and Kellen Moore is coaching his dick off. Like, I just want Kellen Moore to be this Kellen Moore when Dak comes back, and this could be one of the best teams in football. But for some reason, when Dak is in there, Kellen Moore gets too cute and tries to do too much, and it just doesn't work. Just get in there and call a damn good game and be a good offensive coordinator. Be good at your job, and you could be a good team. But no, we get a backup quarterback in there, and he dummies down the playbook, and then all of a sudden you have Noah Brown like busting out for all these plays. And everybody's like, "Oh, look, we didn't need Cedric Wilson. Oh, we didn't need Amari Cooper. Look how good Noah Brown is." And I'm like, no, that's how good our offensive coordinator could be when he's not being a freaking idiot. Like, it is the most infuriating thing in the world because you could see it on the field. Like, you could just see it happening, and it is absolutely infuriating. But going through all that, like, I don't have a play in this game. I'm just so infuriated with Cowboys fans and Cowboys media and just Cowboys in general right now, acting like Cooper Rush can ever be anything more than he is right now. And I hope to God, more than anything in the world, that the Washington Commanders go and pay that man $75 million plus this offseason. I'm praying that it happens.
So, to your point, like, this is something that I noticed with Matt Nagy and the Bears, is that, like, having too many calls on your play sheet is worse than not having enough calls on your play sheet in some respects. Like, when you have the whole playbook open because you know your quarterback can do it all, that means all week in practice you were going through way too many concepts and no one truly got the reps they need to know what they're doing on these plays that you're calling. No one, like, you haven't practiced any of these things enough for anyone to know them because the whole playbook's open. Your playbook's 3,000 pages long, and it's so good, and you're so smart as a coordinator. It's going to be perfect, but the players don't know the depths of their routes. They don't know where they're supposed to be at the quarterback's drop. They don't know when to look back for the football. It impacts everything. So when you have that consolidated playbook, it makes stuff simpler for the players. It's not even just like dumbing it down. It's that you repped this all week in practice. You got to know it. You have it down, and you're going to go execute it.
Yeah, so let me interject a little bit. So you look at some of the best offenses of all times. You look at the Shanahans. You look at the Andy Reids. Those are like the two that are like popping up to me immediately. West Coast, San Francisco, Bill Walsh.
Yeah, Bill Walsh.
You look at some of the most historic offenses of all time. It's basically 5 different plays ran 150 different ways.
Yeah.
And why the Shanahan offense is still doing very well. I mean, they've been to 3 NFC championships with Jimmy Garoppolo in San Francisco. Yeah. And you look at just the Andy Reid success. And then you look at the Shanahan. I mean, you have Sean McVay. You have Packers head coach. You have Mike
a lot
McDaniel.
Of that even roots back to like Don Coryell and
Joe everything
Gibbs,
goes back further.
Like,
I mean Shanahan is kind of like the perfecter of that wide zone. Like, I mean, everything kind of culminates to like a pinnacle. And I think you got to give Shanahan credit for that. Just like I think Andy Reid kind of owns his offense, even though he kind of stole it from other places. And then Bill Walsh obviously owns his offense. But like the West Coast and like these offenses that stand the test of time that are still doing good today, it's the same thing 100 different ways. It's not 100 different things 5 different ways. Like it feels like some of these up and comer head or like savants or whatever are trying to do the opposite of what has worked forever. Is let me show you 100 different looks to run 7 different plays instead of let me show you 7 different plays and 100 different looks.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was getting at.
I think that was the best way to explain it. So yeah, I mean, it's infuriating watching it as a Cowboys fan. I don't have a play on this. You have Cowboys plus 4.5. I do agree with that. I think the Rams are absolute frauds right now. I think the Rams would be a better team with Jared Goff right now than Matt Stafford. I wholeheartedly agree with that. Maybe they don't win the Super Bowl last year with Jared Goff. They might have, but outside of their Super Bowl run last year, I don't like. If they don't win the Super Bowl last year, that may go down as like an all-time bad trade. But they won the Super Bowl, so it doesn't matter.
It's all white clean.
Yeah, but I mean, they were close last year to missing the Super Bowl or missing the playoffs.
I think the Rams are finally paying a reckoning for having no depth on their roster whatsoever.
Yeah,
I've been saying it for 2 years now that like they're going to pay eventually for not having depth because key players will get hurt, and that's finally happening.
And you look back to the Jared Goff Rams, and Jared Goff and Cooper Kupp had the same connection that him and Matt Stafford did. Cooper Kupp couldn't stay healthy early in his career. That was the biggest issue they had in their offense, is that him and Cooper Kupp, or Jared Goff and Cooper Kupp, were fantastic together. The Cooper Kupp would go down, and then he didn't have that same connection with anybody else. And like, if Cooper Kupp isn't healthy last year, they don't win the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
they just don't. That's obvious this year. I mean, Odell Beckham helped him out a lot last year, but I mean, it's very obvious this year that, I mean, it's a one-man show, and if it's not Cooper Kupp, like, they refuse to throw the ball to Allen Robinson. Just absolutely refuse.
It drives me nuts. I'm glad I didn't get him in fantasy because I had him ranked high.
He's open early and often, and they're just like, nope. Not my job to throw it to him. I don't know who's like it's literally like that meme of, you see people like painting the lines on the road, and there's like a tree in the way, and they just paint around a tree branch, and instead of like moving the tree branch out of the way to make it a straight line, they just go around it. Like, they see Allen Robinson wide open, they're like, not my job to throw him the ball, and then like they throw it to like Ben Skoranek for 11 yards. It's crazy.
Makes no sense.
Crazy. But, all right, moving on to our last game on the card for NFL. We have this Cincinnati Bengals going to the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens, who haven't won a home game in a while. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
The last time they won a home game was?
Oh, no. When was it?
Last season, like week 14.
Jeez.
Yeah, Baltimore Ravens haven't won a home game in a while.
I might jump on this parlay with you. I like it.
They haven't won. Like, either they'll never win at home again, or this is the perfect spot to make a lick. So I have Baltimore Ravens money line and the over 48.5 parlayed here. Baltimore, we know they can score. Lamar is looking like an MVP right now, and they've given up points week in and week out. I don't think Baltimore loses 7 straight home games. They've lost 6 straight home games right now. I don't think they lose 7 straight home games. I just don't. They're talking about firing their coach right now. There's 11 teams in the league that would hire their coach and fire their current coach, no matter how good or they are, tomorrow.
If that happens,
if they fire
can
Harbaugh.
Eberflus get Harbaugh in Chicago as fast as you can?
Yeah, and they're talking about firing Harbaugh because their home record's been so bad in the past 7 games. Yeah, this is a get-right game. Baltimore's a better team. They're finally starting to get a running game going with J.K. Dobbins coming back. At plus 200 odds,
I don't know, though.
over 48.5.
Have you seen?
I love this. Give me Baltimore money line. They're not going to lose this game at home, and their defense has been very suspect. I think Joe Burrow gets it done. I think they go well over 48, and I think Baltimore wins the game. So,
have you seen Cocaine Joe Burrow, though?
No. Does he play defense?
I don't know if I could bet against Cocaine Joe Burrow.
Yeah, but does he play defense? Because, like, Lamar Jackson.
He might. I don't know. All I know is he's showing up in some fresh-ass suits and just looking like
Yeah.
Like you're
No, I
running
mean, I
the blow
agree.
deal.
That's why I love. That's why I love the over. But I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think Baltimore loses 7 straight home games.
Yeah, no, I think I'm probably gonna jump on this with you. I like this a lot. I had
Like,
to mention Joe Burrow's suit just because they're ridiculous. And
So
hysterical.
Baltimore is -3 this game. So it's like you're laying a little bit, taking Baltimore money line because they are 3-point favorites. So, but you parlay it with the over and you're getting plus 205. So,
Yep.
I one of my favorite bets of the week.
Yeah. All right, you want to talk a little college?
Yeah, let's hop into some college real quick.
All right.
All right.
What you got here to start?
All right. Kansas State versus Iowa State is my first bet of the week. Kansas State might be the best team in the Big 12. I don't know. Iowa State's not good. Iowa State's not good. And Kansas State is still getting disrespected after losing a bad letdown game. Like, the disrespect is so real. Like, I said it last week going into the Tech game. They're getting disrespected. This game is just absolutely. I understand they're going on the road to Iowa State. Absolutely getting disrespected here. Give me K-State -2. One of my favorite picks of the week this week. Like I said, K-State might be the best team in the Big 12. Iowa State's not good at all. Like, I absolutely love this pick. So, yeah, give me Kansas State -2. Next up, we have Virginia Tech Pitt, and you got a pick on this one.
And I'm playing over here, over 44.5. I know it's a shocker, but I'll play some overs on college, just not NFL. I just think Pitt's a solid team. I don't think Virginia Tech's very good. I think Pitt's going to put up plenty of points, and Virginia Tech's going to put up a few. And I think that total is going to be somewhere in the 50s.
Good enough. Next, we have TCU, trash, versus Kansas. These two teams are ranked in 2022.
I'm so happy for Kansas.
This is the biggest game Kansas has had at their home stadium since 2007, where they could have gone to the national championship, but they lost to West Virginia on a missed extra point. Yeah, you look back at that 07 season, craziest football. I know most college football fans know that 2007 was the craziest football season ever, but like, if you look back on that, there's a chance that we had South Florida versus Kansas in the national championship game 1 week left in the season, and they both just choked it away. Like, crazy. Anyway, this is the biggest game Kansas had since then. Kansas, one of the most high-flying offenses we've seen in the Big 12 this year, in the country this year. Jalen Daniels looked like an absolute stud at home, catching 7 points versus TCU. Gotta take Kansas here, right? Wrong. I love Kansas. I've been on the Kansas train all year. TCU might be the best team in the Big 12. Laying 7 points. I love this Kansas team. I think they're about the 4th to 7th best team in the Big 12, which is saying a lot for Kansas, who's normally dead last. I think this is where their journey comes to the end. They're, I think, ranked 19 right now, which hell of a job by them. They went 5-0. I think they'll win a couple more games this year, but I think TCU is just too good. I think TCU covers this game. I think TCU covers the 7 points. Give me TCU -7, going on the road to Kansas. College Game Day will be there. I think every other network will be there. It's the biggest game Kansas has seen outside of basketball in damn near 20 years. But I'm afraid there's going to be a lot of heartbroken fans in that stadium. And I'm not rooting for it. I'm rooting for a Kansas win. This is one of the few bets I have a year where I'm rooting against myself. But I just know I would rather win money rather than have the emotional side of it if it's not one of my own teams. So I'll be cheering for Kansas, knowing that when TCU wins by 28, I'm like, at least I was on the right side.
Makes sense. I honestly might jump on this with you. I thought about putting this bet in mine and cut it last minute, but
all right. Moving on, we have Texas versus Oklahoma. We have the Red River Shootout, which I don't think we can call it the shootout anymore. I think they call it like the Red River Showdown, which is just dumb. But yeah, Texas is 8-point favorites here, which Quinn Ewers is back this week. It's been the Oklahoma game. They talked about it when it was the Tech game that Quinn Ewers could have played, and they're saving him for Oklahoma. And then he obviously wasn't going to play against West Virginia because West Virginia's trash. But it was always the Oklahoma game. He could have played the Tech game. He could have played the West Virginia game. But it was always the Oklahoma game. Texas is 8-point favorites in this game with Quinn Ewers being back. So I think Texas, I'm taking the over 65 in this game because I think Texas scores. I think they get their points. Regardless, I think Texas scores 40 plus this game. Dylan Gabriel and the Oklahoma Sooners have been absolutely embarrassed in back-to-back weeks. I think they figure something out. I think they put at least 25, 30 on the board. And with me saying I think Texas scores over 40, I think this is an easy over of 65. I think a Quinn Ewers-led Texas team might be a top – I think it might be a playoff team. I said it in the offseason. They proved it against Alabama. And – Quinn Ewers only played one quarter, and they looked better against that Bama defense than anybody has looked all year. They could still maybe sneak into the playoffs if we have a couple of losses along the way, but this might be the best two-loss football team we've ever seen miss the playoffs. And I hate Texas, so I'd be more than happy to see them miss the playoffs. But I'm a big Quinn Ewers guy. I'm a big fan of Quinn Ewers. I think he's going to be an absolute stud on the next level. And I like him in college. So it sucks that we may never see him in a college football playoff. But I think they're going to put up points this week. And like I said, I think they put up over 40. And I don't think Oklahoma gets the doors blown off them to where they won't put up a couple 20, 25 points. So, yeah, give me the over 65 in this game.
Yeah, and then next one up, Arkansas, Mississippi State. I'm in Arkansas plus 8.5. Really, I mean, I think these are two quality teams, SEC, and I just don't think Mississippi State is 9 points better than Arkansas. I think it's closer between these teams, and I know you don't think so, but yeah, the numbers tell me.
This game.
I just think 8.5 is a big number, and I think Arkansas is going to hang in there. And
I think Arkansas is getting very overvalued for some lackluster performances, but maybe I'm wrong. I mean,
hey, you're allowed to have your opinion. Honestly, your opinion is probably more informed than mine because mine's mostly numbers. So,
yeah, I think Mississippi State is. I think Mississippi State's better than their record. I think they should have I was big on Mississippi State going into LSU. They dominated the LSU game and lost. That's hurting them very, very badly. But if you watch the game, they absolutely dominated them from start to finish. They couldn't get in the end zone, and they couldn't stop them at the end of the game. They refused to kick field goals. They went forward on 4th and 1 6 different times inside the 30. Absolutely ridiculous. And their defense was absolutely smothering to an LSU offense that I think is better than the Arkansas defense. Mississippi State being at home this week, I think is a big difference. And you saw what they did to A&M, and then you might look at the A&M Arkansas game and be like, well, if two plays go differently, Arkansas wins that game by 28. But they didn't go differently, and they lost outright. So, and then Mississippi State goes out there and just beats the brakes off A&M, just beats the absolute dog shit out of them, just embarrasses them. And this Mississippi State team is a very, very, very good team with a very good defense, with a quarterback that might be a Heisman contender by the end of the year. And I think this is another one of those rat lines where you just look at the Arkansas plus 8.5, and the numbers may love it. I'm not taking it just because I want to see a little bit more of Mississippi State, but from what I've seen so far, I would lean Mississippi State here, but I could see I knowing what's happened in the games up to this point in the season, I could see why Arkansas's the bet in the numbers wise, but this is one of those. There's like if you watch the games, you would know why I'm on the other side.
Yeah, that all makes sense. Most of my bets on college are really just straight math. A lot of the times, I commit my whole Sunday to football. I can't afford to commit both Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, most of my Saturday, I have a toddler at the house, and my wife usually works Saturdays, so I mean, I'm not going to watch Coco Melon for 14 hours, so I'll just throw on college football, and he can either watch with me or we can build forts in the living room, and then I can still do both when we build forts in the living room, so that's what we do.
You can watch it from the fort.
Exactly.
The best way to watch college football.
Building forts are awesome in your 30s. I'll tell you what. If you thought forts were cool when you were 10, they're so much cooler when you're 30. I promise you. But all right, moving on. This next one is there's not a whole lot to it. We have Ohio State versus Michigan State. I have Ohio State minus 26. Only thing I'm going to say about this game is Ohio State's really, really good. Michigan State's not.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add?
That's a fair take. No. Mel Tucker is just living the dream right now.
Yeah, Tuck coming. Yeah, you get on Twitter. And everybody in Michigan State's acting like that $100 million contract that you signed after a mediocre season where he signed every single transfer portal that he could. And you actually look at their 9-win season last year, and you're like, you didn't really beat a whole lot of anybody besides Michigan, and you're going to pay a guy $100 million basically because he beat Michigan, and now they're looking at a losing season immediately after that, and they don't have the money to buy him out because Michigan State doesn't have the money Michigan has, doesn't have the money Ohio State has, doesn't even have the money Wisconsin has. It's like, what do? We just paid this guy $100 million. You're fucked. That's what happens when you're a stupid program that plays with stupid prizes and wins stupid games. All of that to say that you're about to be in poverty for a long time because Mel Tucker's not good. He wasn't good at Colorado. For some reason, you wouldn't have hired him out of Colorado. And as soon as he left, I hate Mel Tucker because when he was at Colorado, he was like the number one guy against the transfer portal, saying if you commit to a college, you should fulfill your commitment. And he was on a 4-year contract. Colorado immediately left and then signed the biggest recruiting class for transfers in college football history, going to Michigan State 2 months after he says that. After he's trying to basically screw college athletes out of playing time, because that's what happens with college athletes. They get overpromised at fucking 16, 17 years old. Then they get somewhere. They're like, oh yeah, I was absolutely lied to for 6 months. And and people in college sports just think, they're like, oh, I'm sorry that you were lied to when you were an impressionable 17-year-old, but you have to stay here for the rest of your life and then just never do anything else. I understand there's 17 people on the depth chart that are better than you, but just because this guy convinced you that there wasn't 17 people better than you, you have to stay here until you graduate. That is the most backwards. You can change colleges for any other reason in the world, but for some reason when college athletes do it, it's the end of the world. But I hate Mel Tucker. He's a absolute worthless piece of shit. So I love to see him failing at Michigan State. Give me Ohio State minus 26. Moving on.
Got paid a lot of money to hand the ball off to Ken Walker.
Yeah. How hard is it to hand the ball off to a dope? Yeah.
Next up here, Iowa, Illinois. I got Iowa plus 3.5. I think Illinois is getting a little overpriced here after beating the brakes off Wisconsin last week. And
I agree.
I mean, I don't know if Iowa can score points, but I know they can keep Illinois from scoring points. So I think they'll keep it a close game. Plus 3.5 seems like an easy bet to me.
I agree with that 100%. Moving on, we have Texas Tech versus OK State. OK State might be the best team in the Big 12. Texas Tech might be the best team in the Big 12.
Are we up to 6 now? Possible best teams in the Big 12?
For 5.
5.
Kansas State, You got Kansas State, TCU, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State. Who's the other one? Kansas.
Yeah.
Whoever wins Kansas TCU might be the best team in the Big 12.
Maybe. But I know our last Texas Tech under did not go well.
I like this one.
OK State's defense is very good.
They were good last year. They lost their DC to Ohio State, so keep that in your noggin.
Oh, okay.
But they've been good this year, though.
I just 67.5 just seems high to me. I mean, unless this game goes to overtime, I think we're well within the under here, or unless, like against Texas, they score 28 points in the first 10 minutes, and then the rest of it paces the under by far. But yeah, that felt like a fluke, and then it went to overtime. I still like Big 12 unders, especially like Texas Tech, who's more of a running team right now. I think that number's too high.
So people are still talking about the Big 12 like they were like 8 years ago. The Big 12 hasn't been the Big 12 of 8 years ago in 8 years, obviously, because that was 8 years ago. Last year, the Big 12 had 7 teams in the top 50 for defense, which, if you're like, oh, well, top 50, you only had 7 teams in it. That's the most in the top 50 out of all the major conferences in the NCAA.
That's 70% of the conference.
Well, not even like you don't even think about it that way. I mean, we only have 10 teams. Yeah, I mean, you look at the SEC. You look at the SEC and the Big 10, who have 37 teams in each conference, and you look at the Big 10 where they don't even play offense, and you're like, you have more than 7 teams. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the Big 12 gets highly disrespected for their defense. I don't think by voters. I don't think they get disrespected where it matters. I think they get disrespected in the betting lines and the public opinion. But like playoff committee and stuff like that, I think they actually respect the Big 12 defense, which is why you kept seeing Oklahoma get in every year. And the thing that used to always just make me so mad is like, oh, look, Oklahoma got clowned again. Like, they get clowned by the greatest LSU team of all time. Or, they got crowned by like the greatest Ohio State team of all time. Or they got clowned by like one of the best Alabama teams of all time. Or they take Georgia to the wire and it takes overtime for Georgia to beat them. And then a Georgia team that's beating Alabama by 30 points at halftime where Tua makes a heroic comeback. Like that same year, Oklahoma should have beat Georgia. And then nobody talks about that. It's like the Big 12 gets so disrespected. But like when you actually look at the wins and losses, like, yeah, it's just crazy. But I don't want to rant on it for too long. But ridiculous. Under 67.5, Texas Tech, OK State. Moving on, Notre Dame, BYU. I'm on BYU money line here in Las Vegas. Basically a home game for BYU. BYU is my favorite Group of 5 team coming into this into the season. I don't consider Notre Dame Group of 5, but unaffiliated, I still like BYU a little bit better. Give me BYU money line plus 158.
Yeah, and I got BYU plus 3.5 on there. Consider sprinkling the money line. I just think this is being priced like a road game for BYU when it's a neutral site that is very close to BYU. So,
and the elevation matters in this game because Indiana is like pretty close to sea level, isn't it?
I'm not sure.
I think I could be wrong.
What would you call that? Like a geography expert or
topography?
Topography. I'm not a topography expert, so I'm not.
I'm not either, but I'm pretty sure the elevation between Nevada and Indiana is quite different. Everything on the West Coast is higher.
Okay. Like why? Because weed's legal there, or what?
Yeah. a lot more scientific reasons than that. But yeah, let's just go with that. Pretty sure it's just like the split from like Arizona, like straight up is like you automatically get like 1,000 feet of elevation just like based on topography. Anyway, Anyway, we both love BYU in that game. And then my last play of the week, 3-unit play, my favorite play of the week, San Diego State, -21. I think this is a home game for San Diego State, if I'm not mistaken. On the graphic, it shows Hawaii as the home game.
Yeah, where I looked it up, it said Hawaii, but that was the reason I didn't bet it initially, just because it's in Hawaii.
It doesn't matter. Hawaii is the worst team I've ever seen in my life. They could not beat a 6th grade middle school blind and deaf team. They are absolutely.
Oh no, it's at San Diego State. I'm jumping on this.
They are absolutely god awful. Hawaii is so bad. I've been betting against Hawaii every single week. Besides the only week I bet on Hawaii week 1. Watched the game, realized how bad they were. Bet against them week 2 and 3. Easily won my bet. Week 4 they played some Division 3 school that might have been a high school team. Who knows? They actually won that game. It was close. It was 31-21, something like that. And then got their brakes beat off them again. They're going to lose this game by 65 points. I don't know anything about San Diego State, and I guarantee you they're going to lose this game by 65 points. Hawaii is the worst team in football. Name a team who you think is bad. UConn beat Hawaii by 60. It doesn't matter. Name a team that you think is bad, and they would cover the spread against Hawaii. Hawaii is not covering the spread against anybody. Bet against Hawaii. Fade Hawaii until they prove otherwise for the rest of the season, and you'll be a very, very rich man.
I'll just put 2 units on it live right here.
Yes, sir. They're bad.
The second I realize that they're not the home team, that's easy for me.
If you don't know what bad football looks like, watch a Hawaii game. That's bad football. I don't want to get too disrespectful in case a Hawaii player listens to this, because I understand the allure of going to Hawaii, but y'all are bad, bro. Y'all's offensive line couldn't block my 6th grade defense. It's bad. It's real bad. Hawaii is bad. They're not going to win. They're not going to win a meaningful game this year. They're not going to cover a spread this year. Fade Hawaii every week. Hawaii is terrible. San Diego State -21, 3 units. Lock of the week. Bet of the week. Guarantee. Can't lose. Pick of the week. And that's it for me.
Boom.
Make sure you like and subscribe. Let us know in the comments who your favorite bet of the week is. And whatever you do, don't forget, we don't sleep with the Lions.
Never do it.